All right, welcome to the Sales After Dark. Victor Antonio, thank you for joining me. Again, if you're joining me live, thank you for being here. If you're watching this on the replay, fast forward 5 minutes while I say hi to my friends. Let's see who's on the line. Man, got a lot of people out here, man. That's pretty cool. Let's see who we got. Let's start from the top, man. Inkle John's in the house, number one. Always present, excited. Glad you're here, man. Let me see who we got also. Yashvardhan Patil. I think I got that right, man. I got that right. So let me know where you're from. I think we are from, I don't want to assume, from India. Let me know. Kamlesh, definitely from India. Good morning from India. By the way, I'm watching this great show on Netflix. It's about arranged marriages in India. It is a great series. It's like season 1. It is a great series. What I love about it, it actually gives you some insight into the Indian culture. Check it out on Netflix. It's called like Arranged Marriages or something like that. It is a great show, man. It is a great show. My wife and I just binge watched that one, so that's pretty cool. Good morning, Malaysia in the house. Ada, how you doing? Glad you joined us. Shrutesh, there he is, man. Always in the house. Love you, man. Thank you. Jenna, thank you, Victor, for spending this valuable time with us. My wife doesn't mind. Had to listen to a few offline, but so glad to be back. San Diego in the house. Like I said, love San Diego. Prices are too high. You the man, one keg. Good evening, Victor and everyone. Very cool. West Coast in the house. Mia Knox. I love that. And let me see, we got Chris Herrick. Thank you for joining us, man. Is that JJ? JJ, good morning from Libya, man. Welcome, Matt. For Fitness, Tony G. Yes. And there he is, the double P man himself, Pete from Cleveland, Ohio. And no show would be complete with Brian Gator Morrell from the Strip. Pencil sharpened, ready to take notes, man. Oh, we're going to have a good one today. I think we're going to talk a lot about motivation. Looking forward to your dark sales. No. After dark sales. There you go. Been in sales over 20 years and still learning something good. Duncan, isn't that the reality of things, man? We all, even I have to keep learning, man. TJ Salgado. Okay, just in time, man. This is good. Tahir, welcome, man. Good morning. JJ, I'm a lifetime sales velocity member. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't checked out my Sales Velocity program, check it out. And by the way, that lifetime program will be going up in price in the next month or so. So now's the time to get in. I got something weird going on here. I got Jay occupying the house. There you go, Jay, man. Thank you, man, for being here. Appreciate you. Luigi Giovanetti, man. I love that, dude. You know, I just want to say that when you just jump on board. Shrutesh. Can't miss your live. It might be a big loss in growing myself. Thank you. Well, I think this one, if you miss it, I got you, brother. All right, well, this one I think you guys are going to enjoy. I get a lot of questions about background success, and this one I titled, the 4 rules of winning. So I'm going to give you the 4 rules of winning real quick. So a little background. My family, and by the way, let me just frame this whole conversation for tonight. I get a lot of questions around, Victor, if sometimes I want to do something, I'm just not motivated to do something, right? I feel that resistance. And sometimes the resistance is internal, and sometimes it's our perception of what's external. Notice I said it's our perception of what's external. And then sometimes we're afraid to take chances, right? Everybody on this call, for example, wants to do something, right? Everybody wants to express themselves in their own way. And even if you work for a company, I think the majority of people, I think there was one study that said 76% of the people are either unhappy or would rather switch their jobs. 76%, that's a big number. So almost like the 80-20 rule, 80% of the people simply don't want to be doing what they're doing, but they're doing it because we have to make money, we have to hustle, we have to survive, right? And so, if that's your mindset and that's where you're at, man, I'm here, man. I'm here for you. Even if you're in sales right now and you're struggling, you just can't get past that. I'm going to share some insights with you. I'm going to give you my personal take on things, and maybe that will help you in some way. And so, let me begin the journey here. I've got to give you a little background because most folks don't know my background. My family's originally from Puerto Rico. So I am 100% Puerto Rican, But I was born here in the U.S. And so my family moved from Puerto Rico in the late 50s. And I think my mother had a 3rd grade education. My father had a 5th grade education, or the other way around, I don't remember. And they came straight off the farm. So when they got to Chicago, why would you go from Puerto Rico to Chicago? Because it's cold. It just had a large Puerto Rican community. And so when they got there, they spoke 0 English. Now, for those of you who don't know, because you're not from the U.S., you're international, Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States. So it's a territory of the United States, but it's not a state. And so, for us to go back and forth from Puerto Rico, it's not a big deal. So when they got here, no English, didn't speak the language, and they had some of the worst jobs imaginable. I remember growing up, my father had his job, and he was working those long 12, 13-hour days, man. He was hustling, man. He was hustling to keep a family of 7 going. And so big family. So we were poor. And so I'm the youngest of all of them, right? And I remember early on, we used to get a lot of hand-me-downs. Buying new clothes for us was like a luxury. If you got one new pair of shoes every 2 years, you were super happy. I remember my cousins used to always give me their hand-me-downs, and I was super happy. And so, like I said, we made, ends meet. And so we were so poor that we lived near the Cabrini Green housing projects in Chicago. If you know that area around the Humboldt Park area, we were living around there. And so we lived off food stamps, like literally government cheese and powdered milk, so we did a lot of government assistance. I remember going with my mother. My mother and my father refused to drive, and so we used to always take the bus. Now, if you're from Chicago or New York or any cold place, you know that taking the bus in the winter is a real mother, if you know what I mean. And so I remember we'd go to stores, just trying to make it, right? I remember when the food stamps came at the end of the month, we were all happy, because that means Mom was going to go shopping and we can eat something, right? And so we had to hustle for our own money. I remember I used to collect a lot of bottles and cans, and I'll tell you some stories later on about that, just to make some little bit of money on the side. I used to take the cans over to the junkyard and sell the metal and make some money. And so I'm the youngest, right? I'm in high school. And my mother was like, just go to school, get the education, get the job. And my mother was always, saying, if you drop out of college, which my 2 brothers did before me, you have to go work with your father in the factory. My father worked in one of these factories. It was just dirty. It was a horrible job. I remember every night he would come home, he'd blow his nose, and all that black stuff would come out because he worked in one of these real dirty factories. And so the reason I stayed in school, and I tell people the reason I stayed in school was because my mother threatened me that if I didn't stay in school, I would have to go work with my father in the factory. So I'm graduating from high school, right? And we've seen it all, man. Like I said, if you know about Chicago, gangs, violence, drugs, shooting. I know people in prison. I know people in the cemetery. I got the stories just like a lot of folks from Chicago do. And so school was like my way out. But people always say, were you really motivated? Were you really passionate? No, I was just scared. So I remember in high school, when I was about to graduate, I wanted to take some time off. My mother says, nope, got to go to work at a factory. So I said, I'm going to college. And so the only reason I went to college was, 1, because I was scared to go work at the factory because I didn't want to do that job. And 2, we were broke. We didn't have any money. So I figured I'd pick a degree that made money. And so at that time, one of the degrees that made money was electrical engineering. So that's why I got an electrical engineering degree and an MBA. Not because I love electrical engineering, it's because I wanted to make money, right? And so go to school, get the education, get the job, and I tell this story all the time that when I graduated from college, 3 years into my job, tell me if you can feel my pain on this one. You ever do something, you work so hard to graduate, right? Like I did. And then I graduate. And then I go to get a job, and 3 years into my gig, into my job, I don't like it. And I'm like, I had this this crisis, man. It was like, something like, what am I going to do now? After all these years spent, it took me 5.5 years to graduate. And the reason it took me 5.5 years to graduate, side story, I came from a Chicago public high school, public education system. And let's just say that even today, the dropout rate is something like 50, 60%. Do you know what I mean? And the majority of people simply don't go to college. I think the number at that time was that if you graduate from a Chicago public high school, I think the number was 15% of people who went in. So if 100 people went into the high school, only 15 graduated. It was some crazy number like that. Now that 15, only 3% went to college. And now the 3% that went to college, maybe 1 or 2% actually graduated from college. And so I was one of the few that graduated. And so now, after all that work, I get a job. It took me 5.5 years. Why? Because the public education I got at the high schools were so bad, I had to take a whole year in college just to kind of up my game, if you know what I mean. I'm going somewhere with this, and I'll get to my 4 rules in just a bit. But I want you to understand the path. So I get to school, I graduate, start working 3 years. I hate my job. Man, I hate my job. I don't want to do this anymore. And that is when I began the soul searching is what do I really want to do? And I remember I moved from position to position, and it wasn't until I found sales that I was like, boom, I hit my hyper pad, right? I knew that's where I belonged. And finding sales for me was very difficult. It wasn't like, oh yeah, let's do sales, and I found it. I tried so many other things and it didn't work. Finally, I got to sales and it worked. Now, I'm in sales, I'm making money, fast forward again. Now I'm in sales and now I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do my own thing. I remember seeing Zig Ziglar speak live. I wanted to do my own thing. I see people start their own business. I wanted to do my own thing. But there was like this fear. You ever have this fear that you just, you know what I mean? That you're just like, you want to do something different. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to do this, right? If you have that feeling, man, give me a 1 if you know what I'm talking about, man. Do you know what I mean? If you know what I'm talking about, like you're doing something, you like it, you don't dislike it, you just like it. But you know that you're not, you ever get that? I call it, my phrase is, I like to use the phrase I like to use is this. I had what is known as a quiet, and this is a phrase I came up with. I call it the quiet discontent. Do you know what I mean by the quiet discontent? The quiet discontent is like something here that says, man, I don't want to do this, man. I just don't want to do this anymore. And you come home and you're dragging your bag, man, if you know what I mean. You're like, just dragging it. I don't want to do this anymore, right? But you're kind of caught, right? At that time, I got kids, got a house, got a mortgage, right? And all of a sudden, I don't want to do this anymore. And I feel like I'm trapped. You know what I'm talking about? Give me a 1 if you know what I'm talking about. Just type the word trapped if you're feeling like you felt like that before. Just type in trapped. Because you feel like you can't go left or right? You want to do your own thing, but you got all these responsibilities. How do I balance all this stuff? You got kids who are going to grow up and go to school. You got to buy some clothes. You got to pay the mortgage. You got to pay some bills. And, it's interesting how the more you have, I don't know how it happens. I kind of know. The more you spend, and the more like you're like still. In corporate America, they would give us stocks. Right? I would get stock options. We called them golden handcuffs. Golden handcuffs because what happens is it's so good inside the company. If you leave, you basically lose your stock options, right? Or whatever the compensation plan is, you lose the deal. So that's how they keep you there. Now, again, this is not an anti-corporation picture, man. Love corporate America, love capitalism. That's not what this is about. It's really about you personally, what you want to do. And so I remember, we just said, I remember it was May 9th. This is my, people celebrate different days. This is my second favorite day to celebrate. May 9th, literally, 2001. I think it was 3:48 p.m., if I remember correctly. May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m., something like that. That was my day of independence. That was the day I walked out on a position where I was president of sales and marketing for a $420 million company. Things went well. By the way, I know there's a big piece missing. How do you go from food stamps, government cheese, right, to president of sales and marketing of a $420 million company? That's another story, but the path was there. My point is that even now, when I was making all this money, my base salary, I think I mentioned this before, was $250,000. That was my base salary, $250K. Food stamps, government cheese, $250,000, plus commission, plus stock options, all that stuff. I was doing exceptionally well. But guess what? Guess what reared its ugly head? After this 12, 13-year journey, what reared its ugly head? Even when I was making money, guess what still was there? The quiet discontent. It didn't go away. It didn't go away. See, I was doing it. You know what I'm talking about? You're doing it, but you don't want to do it anymore. But I'm doing it. And inside here, I'm going, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember talking to my wife. My wife and I have been together since '86. How's that for putting a date on it? So, 30, what does that make it, 34 years? I think it's 86. Yeah, 34 years. Been with my 34 years, my best friend, right? And I remember talking to her about it, and she's like, I get it. And then my wife's like, if you want to change careers, do your thing. As I would say, do your thing. If you don't know what the thing is, just type in Victor Antonio, do your thing. You can Google it right now if you want. Say, Victor Antonio, do your thing. There's a reason I say thing, not thing, right? And so I had to make that decision because this would not go away. This is like a hobgoblin of the brain, right? Just keeps talking to you like, you're not on purpose. You're not on purpose. Now, I don't really like the word purpose, but you know what I mean. You're not aligned. You're feeling you're not doing what you want to do. So when I finally started my own business, my own consulting business, my speaking business, I tell the story that in the first 6 months I went from like $250,000 base salary and I made a whopping $17,000 that year. I mean, just like that, just right? And I'm like, ah. And so I'll fast forward again the story, and you know what? I'm doing exceptionally well today. I'm super happy. This no longer exists. I killed that thing. In fact, I kill it every year actually, and I'll explain that in just a bit. This discontent, this not being aligned with what you want to do and what you're doing, that alignment is now like that. No more stomach turning. And so I love my career. Like, man, I love my career, man. I dig what I'm doing, man. Like, I like being here on, with you on this live stream, man. I love what I do. It's a great career. And does it have its challenges? Of course it does. Were there times where I dipped and I'm like, should I be doing this? Should I go back to corporate America? Yes, there were many times, right? And so I want to give you the reality of that because I'm tired. When I see all these, you ever see these gurus on the internet, whether it's Instagram or whatever, Facebook, like you today, you could be a millionaire. You could just quit your job, become a millionaire within a year, and you can make all this wonderful money. There's a saying, or rather it's a story that based on a saying, that who were the people that got rich during the gold rush? Remember in the early part of this, country's history, there was a gold rush, like in Alaska. Who got rich? In the gold rush, who got rich? It's an interesting question, right? Like, who made all the money? When there was a gold rush, who made all the money? Who made all the money? When there was a gold rush, people were going to go find gold. Who made all the money? And the answer is the people that sold you the, I'll just see if I can draw it, who sold you the pickaxes, and that's a shovel, by the way. These are the people that made all the money. The people that sold you the tools, right? Pete got it, right? The people that sold you the tools, right? So a lot of these millionaires online who talk about you can make $1 million tomorrow, you know how they're making their millions? They're making it off of you. They're not doing it. They're just selling you the tools. They're not actually doing it. They're selling you the tools, right? And this I discovered, and that's another rant about, all these fake gurus out there who promise all these wonderful gifts and millions for you. And by the way, you know what's sad about that cycle? If I can rant a little bit, here's what's sad about these gurus. What if you buy into their program? You ever see that where you buy, for $10,000 you can join. I love this. You can join my mastermind program, my inner circle. I love that. My mastermind program. You can join my inner circle where I will reveal all the secrets of success to you. Right? You see these? And so I laugh because it's like, you see this and you're like, what the hell, right? But here's the evil part of it. Here's the evil part of it. They won't tell you that a lot of their money comes from actually selling you the tools, not from actually doing it, from selling you the tools. That's number one. Two, the second thing they don't tell you is that maybe some were successful and they did it their way. Here's the problem. They got lucky or they knew somebody and it's not duplicatable. So it's either not duplicatable or they're selling you the tools. So what happens? You buy into this program. You ever see these people who I call them seminar addicts? You know what a seminar addict is? These are people who go to seminars and they buy everything, whatever the person on stage is selling. They buy everything they're selling on stage, man. It's just amazing to me. I see people like line up to buy something like $5,000, $10,000. And I'm like, I know you don't have $5,000, $10,000. They're putting it on their credit card. And then what happens? They go home and do they implement it? No. By the way, one of my favorite stories was, I think it was Jim Rohn. Do you guys know who Jim Rohn is? Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. Jim Rohn passed away a few years ago. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, please write it down and listen to his stuff on YouTube. Jim Rohn he's called the business philosopher, and I love the way that he basically, I love the way he talks, man. This is one of the only speakers I know that can stand behind a lectern, and hold your attention for hours. I mean, he's that good. You got to watch him, Jim Rohn. So to me, I got two superstars in my book, in my constellation. There's Zig Ziglar, storytelling, and Jim Rohn is like a business philosopher, very incisive in the things he says. But anyway, he was talking about, getting back to seminar addicts, by the way, he was talking about how he had, back in the day, I think it was like a 15 CD set that he sold. So it's 15 CDs, right? 15 CDs in there. And so he was selling these, right? And I think it's a Jim Rohn story. If I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, right? But I think it was Jim Rohn. And he talks about how he'd been selling these CD packs, right? Back in the day, for millennials going, CDs, I kind of remember those, right? So, and he said one day somebody called his office and said, hey, CD number 15, the last CD is blank. Can you send me a new one? And so they shipped the guy out a new one, just as the last one. You know, they just shipped him one, right? And sure enough, he got the CD and it was still blank. He called him up again and said, hey, the one you sent me is also blank. It says, can you send me one that isn't blank? They went back into their inventory, and you know what they found? Is that all the CD packages they had with the 15 CDs, in other words, the package they were selling, in each and every one of those packages, the last CD was blank. And this was the only guy that ever called in, actually made it through all the 15 to actually realize that it was blank. My point is, a lot of people sell you stuff, and what happens is people get all emotional. They catch you what they call a hot state. By the way, so you know, if you look at rules of persuasion, it's actually very fascinating. Let me just blank this out real quick. If you look at rules of persuasion, there's something called, you know, a hot state. A hot state is you should never make a decision in a hot state. You want to make a decision in a cold state, right? Hot state is, for example, you ever go to a mall and you see a pair of shoes right here, right? And you want to buy those pair of shoes. That means you're in a hot state. You're in a hot emotional state, right? You're not even thinking rationally why you need them, but you just know you want them. And so they get people in this hot state, and then people buy emotionally, right? And the best way to buy something is to buy it in a cold state. And by the way, if you've seen my show, that Life or Debt, by the way, hit me with Life or Debt if you've seen my show, Life or Debt, on Amazon. Life or Debt. In Life or Debt, one of the things I tell people is, you know, never buy in a hot state. Do that whole 24 hours and then decide if you really need it. And so my point to all this is that people buy these programs, right? They're buying these programs, and the gurus never tell you that, one, as I said, they either sell you the tools or what they did cannot be duplicated. It just simply cannot be duplicated. So what happens? You buy the program. You drop your 10K, whatever it is that you drop on that program. You drop that program, right? You drop that money on that program. Now, if you agree with me, let me know, man. I want to hear your opinion. But you've seen people drop money on programs, and then they'll try to upsell you. Some people started at, you know, for 1495. That's my favorite number right there. Then they try to upsell you to 5K, and then eventually they get to that. I've seen people upsell to almost 100K, and people still buy, right? But let's leave it right here. You buy that for 10K. And let's say you're one of the few people that's going to go home and try to implement it, right? And you go home and implement it, right? And you know it's not, by the way, one of the rules they put in there is that if you follow everything I say, you will be successful or your money back. If you follow everything I say, if you do everything I say, because that's what's in the contract you're going to sign, a piece of paper you're going to sign when you buy the stuff, you will be successful or we guarantee your money back. Now, what happens if you call and try to get your money back? They're going to ask you, did you do everything I said? And you know what they got? They got this list of 1,000 things you have to do, right? And if you didn't do that, the contract's null and void, right? Or intact still, rather. So what happens is you try it. You buy the program. You buy the program, right? And then what happens is you try to implement the program. And right away, they told you that within 6 months, making this number up, you can be successful. Well, guess what? 6 months go by and you're not successful. Your numbers are not there. So you keep trying a little bit more and you keep trying. And what happens is after a while, you basically just give up. You know what I mean? You just say, I'm done. I can't do this, right? And so all of a sudden you feel like a failure. You feel like a failure because, you know, he did it, they did it. It seems like everybody else is doing it but me. Do you ever get that feeling that everybody else is successful but you? Do you ever get that feeling? Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. See, because that's our brain working. It's always comparing. It says, why were they able to do it and why can't I do it? What they don't tell you, though, is again this right here, is that one, they're just trying to sell you the tools. Maybe that's how they're making their money. Two, what they did can't be duplicated. And one of the books I always refer to, because I think to me it was a mind-blowing book, was Malcolm Gladwell's book. And the book is called Outlier by Malcolm Gladwell. I think it's Outliers. But an outlier effect, this is important, an outlier effect is something that happened in your journey to kind of just boom, just take you to the next level. That's an outlier effect. Boom, it happened. But that outlier effect can't be duplicated. It'll never happen again. For example, if Zig Ziglar were alive today, may rest in peace. And for those of you who know, that's my guy. But if he were to start from zero today, like as a 27-year-old speaker, right, today, he would have a hard time being the Zig Ziglar he was. See, back then, there wasn't that much competition. Most people don't understand that Zig Ziglar partnered with Mary Kay. And Mary Kay, the cosmetics, really, really pushed Zig Ziglar's material. And that's why that was Zig Ziglar's boom, outlier effect that took him to the next level. If you look at every successful person, you really look at them, if you were able to analyze, break apart why they were able to succeed at such a rapid pace, you will find an outlier effect. Whether it's somebody investing in their company that they didn't expect would invest, they took off, right? You think of Steve Jobs, right? Again, study Steve Jobs. If he had not met Wozniak, right, who was really doing all the real work, right? He was just a creative brain. That was his outlier effect. He met a guy who was technically savvy, and then Steve Jobs was creative, give him credit, right? He was a brilliant man, but he had an outlier effect. And if you look at his career path, there were nudges to get him to the next level, right? And the thing is, when that doesn't happen to us, we go, what is it? Am I just an idiot? Am I stupid? Am I not? Why can't I make it? The reality is that it is part skill and part luck. Nobody wants to talk about this. It's part skill and part luck. There's a book called, let me just clear this out again. There's a book called Thinking, and I don't remember the author's name, Thinking in Bets. And what I love about this book is one of the most honest books I've read on success. And when I read the book, it talks about how, luck has, a big role to play in your success. So, but how do you improve your luck? That part you can't get away with. How do you improve your luck? You just keep trying, right? See, a lot of people stop after 2 or 3 tries, right? But if you keep trying, eventually the law of averages kicks in your favor. But it is somewhat luck. And sometimes when we try 2 or 3 things, or we try some blueprint that a guru gave us and it didn't work, we say, either we blame the plan or we blame ourselves. If we blame the plan, we try to find another plan. And then we just keep buying other plans, right? Trying to find the right plan. Nothing wrong with that, but you're going to go through a lot of money. Other, you blame yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There really isn't. You know what I mean? You just got to figure it out. You just have to figure it out. And so for me, I've learned early on, since we didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up, we always had to figure out a way to work it out. Do you know what I mean? We had to find a way to make it happen, to make it work it out. And so what I want to give you, I just want to go through what I call 4 rules of success. These are, and they're not even rules, they're like guiding philosophy for me. Just guiding philosophy. It just guides my thinking, right? And so I just want to share these 4 with you. Sorry for that long preamble, but I think once you want to see the 4 rules, right, mindsets, then you'll understand my thinking, you'll understand the rules better. So without further ado, bam, the 4 rules for winning. Now, let's just pause right here because we need to define what winning means. And the reality is only you can define winning. It's not money, man. It's not money. We all know people with a lot of money. By the way, I'm not saying, you know me, I'm a capitalist. I love money. Money's not evil to me. I love money. So, but the reality is you define winning. I know people who are not making a lot of money but are super happy. I know a lot of people who are making a lot of money are super sad and unhappy. I don't criticize. I hate when people criticize rich people. I hate that. I hate when people criticize rich people because they've done something to earn that money, right? So let's not do that. And then I hate when people look down on people who don't have a lot because that's also, how do you know they're not happy? Because they could be totally happy, right? So what are the 4 rules of winning? Here's the 4, and I should call it the 4 mindsets for winning. All right, first one I'll share with you. This is mine. Now, I wish I came up with this line. It wasn't me, but I wish I came up with this line because it's such a great line. And this is, I put it number 1 because it is the number 1 rule I have. Never aim for perfection, aim for success. This changed everything for me because if you're this person I'm about to describe right now, I want you to be honest and I want you to say me. Let me describe the person. you have an idea, you have a concept, you have something that you want to share, but it's not perfect. And so you sit on it. If that's you, type the word me. Don't be afraid. Just type in the word me. Nobody's going to judge you because we all do this to some extent. But a lot of us, what we do is we hold on to something and we don't launch anything. I mean, to me, the biggest graveyard of money is the desk, because we have great ideas. We write these great ideas down. We design them, we sketch them, but then we're afraid to launch. You know, we're afraid to launch. Something holds us back. We're afraid to launch because it's not perfect. People might criticize me. You know, I need to work on it some more. I need to smooth out the edges. There's a couple of things it needs. Blah, blah, blah. We all do that. You want to see, by the way, I live by this rule, and I'll prove it to you. This live stream is a perfect example of me proving this concept. When you get a chance after we're done, or you can do it now if you want to do it on the side, go check out my first live stream. It was horrible. The video quality was bad, right? The camera lighting was off. The topics, everything was outlined. It wasn't the best. I even told somebody, I said, I got to do 20 of these just to kind of get good. Because see, my philosophy is never aim for perfection, aim for success. See, I wasn't trying to be perfect on the first one because I know it's not going to happen. It's going to be like, I'm not going to say it's crap, but it's just not going to be the best, right? I'm okay with that. I'm the guy that says if it's 80% there, launch it. If I think it's 80% good, launch it. Hell, probably at 70, I'll do it too, right? I'm not that guy that says I got to get it just right. I'm not him. If you want somebody who's detailed oriented, I am not your guy. I am not. And that's one of the things I've learned about myself, that I've admitted what I suck at. Oh, it is such a relief when you admit that. Once you admit what you're not good at, what you suck at, I mean, what you're not good at, just that admission, like I'm horrible at this. And people say, well, Victor, that's negative talk. No, it's not. It's called reality. It is called acknowledging reality. I'm not good at it. Listen carefully. Here's where I slice and dice it. I'm not good at it, not because I can't be, because I choose not to be. So for example, let me clarify this. I always say, I'm not good at accounting. I'm just not good at accounting. Now, let me define what I mean by that. It doesn't mean I can't be good at accounting. I mean, heck, I got an MBA. And I got an engineering degree. I know I can be good at accounting. I just don't want to do it because I don't like doing that. You know what I mean? And to me, that was like, wow, once you admit what you're not good at and then focus on what you're good at, see, that's where schools have it wrong, I think. That's where the brainwashing began, by the way. Come on, I'm going to talk to you. See if I'm right on this. Schools always say, if you're weak at something, just work extra harder at it, right? If you're weak at math, work extra hard at math. Now, that is the right advice if you're trying to get through school. If you're trying to get through school, yeah, you better study a little science. Even if you're not good, you got to study it and you'll get better at it. True. Math, same thing. Trigonometry, true. Calculus, true. All these things, you got to study to be good at it, right? You got to study it. You got to study it to be good at it. So figure out what you're not good at and spend more time doing those things. But once you graduate and you don't need the degree, right? Then the real world kicks in. You don't have time to be good at everything. You don't. But there's certain things that you're good at. You know what they are. You just have to acknowledge that thing, man. You just have to kind of go, this is what I'm good at. That's what I'm not good at. For example, again, when it comes to detail, horrible. Don't tell me to proofread. I have somebody always proofread my books, right? Because I don't like proofreading. Could I be good at proofreading? If I wanted to, yeah, of course I could. But I don't like it, right? There's just certain things I do not like, right? And so when I look at this phrase, when I use this phrase, I'm saying, okay, if I can only get it to 80%, I'm going to launch this thing. And then what happened after, if you look at this is episode number 45. So this is number 45 for me. And I've committed to doing this through the whole year, all the way through December 31st, right? That's my commitment, right? And I think I'm being consistent so far. And they're getting better. Little changes here, little changes there, little changes there. Because again, am I aiming for perfection? Yeah, I'm aiming for it. Will I ever reach it? I don't think so, but that's all right. But I know that I started out maybe at 60, 70. 70, 80, and I think I'm in the 85. I think I'm at the 85 range now with this whole sales after dark. I think I need to add some more components, so I keep like buy new microphones, get the right lighting, change the content up, stuff like that, right? So I'm getting better because I'm aiming for perfection. I don't expect to hit it, but that's how I roll. My question to you is, is there something that you want to start? And maybe you just need to launch that thing, man. Do you know what I mean? Just launch it. I know what you're thinking, but Victor, what if I launch it and I fail? So what? Welcome to the club, man. By the way, if you've never failed, just type in never failed in this stream. In fact, if you type in never failed, just get off my stream because you're lying. Because we've all failed. We've all failed, man. We've all failed. Am I right? We've all failed. And so I want to highlight that, man, just boom, just go for it, man. And the thing is, even if you fail, what's that? There was that phrase, aim for the moon. Because even if you miss, you'll still be amongst the stars. Isn't that a beautiful line? Aim for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll still be amongst the stars. I dig that line, man, because it's kind of like this, man. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what are you guys popping up on my stream here, man? That's cool. Thank you, man. Some great comments. So in other words, Jared says, I learned to outsource my weaknesses. Brilliant. Jared Best Mitchell, outsource your weaknesses. Again, if you can't do it, outsource this. There's no reason you can't start your own side hustle. Your thing, man. And again, if you don't know what thing is, you really need to look up Victor Antonio Thang to figure it out. Because everybody here can do it. We have all the resources. Years ago, I heard a guy say, it's not what you do with what you don't have, it's what you do with what you do have that makes the difference. Let me say it again because it's important. Because it's too easy to say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have that. And he says, it's not what you do with what you don't have, it's what you do with what you do have that makes a difference. You don't have a lot of money, what do you got? You don't have 10,000, what do you got? 5,000, don't have 5, what do you got? 1,000, don't have that. Do you have $100? $100, don't have that. Have $50, 20 bucks. You got 20, bam. Let's start at 20. How can I invest that 20 into something to get me going? Don't care. Start at 20 bucks. Buy something and move in that right direction. And the thing is, what will happen is that quiet discontent will start to kind of disappear. And by the way, there are several things. Now, I don't want to take too long with this subject right here. There's several things that I tried for the first time, and I started doing it, and I realized I didn't like it. And that was okay. Because that kind of leads me to, when I get to rule number 3, and it's okay. It's okay if you don't like it. Now, before I go to the real meat, I want to highlight this one. I've talked about this one in the past. My man Inko, I think, actually highlighted this for me again. He says, when it comes to success, winning, you need to find social proof. And social proof is somebody who is actually doing what you want to do. Because if somebody's doing what you want to do, and somebody's doing it and they're making a living, right? Notice I didn't say making money. They're making a living. Big difference. Money is just this. Living, it's money and this, right? You dig it and you're making money, right? And you're happy with it. So there's that and living. If you see somebody doing something you like and they're making a living, that is social proof that it is possible. So now, if you know it's possible, then we just simply have to figure out a way, right? And I'll get to that. So keep in mind, think about something you want to do and then figure out who's doing it and then stalk them, like find them, figure out what they're doing, follow their streams, follow them on Instagram, on all the social media platforms, figure out what they're doing, and then do a whole little checklist. Okay, they're doing this, I need to do that. They're doing this, I need to do that. Don't copy, but you can mimic. Big difference. Copy is stealing. Mimic is saying, I'm going to do what they do, I'm just going to do it my way. So in other words, I used to study, for example, Zig Ziglar back in the day. So I used to hear Zig Ziglar tell his stories, right? And so I used a couple of stories, always gave him credit, but then after a while I said, you know what, I want to develop my own stories. But then I watched how he would tell a story. And if you watch some of my keynotes on YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're very Ziglar-esque in their presentation style because I learned from the master, my master, I should say. And so I learned how to do it my way. But he was social proof that you can make money, have a great living, as a speaker. And to me, he was my model. And then I was like aiming for him. He was my idea of perfection. And so I was always aiming towards Zig Ziglar, level. Will I ever get to that level? Probably not. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, but I'm enjoying the journey, if you know what I mean. So find something. Rule number 3. Now this one, and I'll take a pause here, man. This one right here is really interesting because some of you may go, yeah, Victor, that's great. Victor, I got you. That's great. I love you, man. Thank you for the advice. I get it. Never aim for perfection, aim for success. Got it. Social proofs, find people who are doing it, but I don't know what I want to do. I know I'm not aligned. I got that quiet discontent going, but I'm just not aligned. But I don't know what I want to do, Victor. I haven't found my passion, right? You get that a lot, right? You haven't found your passion. So my question is, so what are you going to do? Because are you going to wait around like waiting for passion to happen? Are you going to walk around going, passion, where are you? Are you going to like, where's passion? It's not going to come down raining like manna from heaven. It's not going to do that. It doesn't work that way. What happens is you have to try things, right? And you find out what you don't like. See, this is the important part of trying. When you do something and you start doing it and you don't like it, that's okay. Look, we've all had this situation. You've had this situation. I've had it happen too many times. I know you've had it also. You ever like get talked into something? You ever have somebody talk you into something like, hey man, I got this great idea. Here's how it's going to work. And they describe, right? Here's how it's going to work, right? And then you're getting fired up. You're, yeah, we can do this, And all of a sudden, you're firing each other up, right? You're just like this beautiful, virtuous circle of motivation. Yeah, we can do this. We can do it. And what about that? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. And all of a sudden, you both walk out and, let's do this, right? And then about a week later, you're like, man, I don't want to do this. How did I get talked into this, right? We've all done that. That's the hot state again, right? You got motivated. You're like, let me go do this, right? That's okay. And too often we like castigate ourselves like, I'm such an idiot. Why did I let myself get in this situation? But the reality is that's part of the learning process because what you've learned something there. You've learned something. And that is that you don't want that. You tried it. You got excited about it. Nothing wrong with getting excited, going after it, trying it, but you didn't like it. And it's okay. But see, too often our family, our friends, family can be evil, right? Friends, kind of, but family for sure because they know you better. They go, well, there he goes again, trying something else. And every time he tries something, it never works. I don't know why you're doing that. And then when you tell them about a new idea, they're like, well, that's probably not going to work, just like your last idea. Man, they just start cutting into you, right? You ever have people just cut into you slowly? And so what happens is you get demotivated. But what the reality is, these people who criticize you, you got to look at who they are. I don't care if it's your family or friend. Look at who they are. Look how much money they're making. Look how they're living. And they're not happy. So the thing is, because they're not happy, they project their unhappiness on you because they don't want to see you succeed. That's what I've learned. So I've learned not to listen to people. I only listen to people who are doing better than I am. You may call that an arrogant posture. I'm not saying I don't listen to people. Notice I said I'll listen, but I really hear people who are successful. I'll listen to anybody, but I'll hear, again, you can reverse those. I can hear everybody out, but I'll only listen to those who are making money because they've done it. They've suffered the slings and arrows. Do you know what I mean? And so somebody says, that's why I stuck Victor Antonio. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. So my point is that, if you don't know what you want, why don't you start defining what you're not good at? Because it's almost like clearing the field, right? Okay, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that. Not good at that. Not good at that. What's left? Standing, right? And that's when you begin to kind of find your spot. The problem is trying to discover what it is you really want to do. And I've learned that the best way of doing that is to really be honest with yourself. Have that conversation. I'm talking about either that late night or early morning conversation. You know what I'm talking about. It's that conversation when you're sitting in the dark. Sun hasn't come up or the sun has gone down. And you're sitting there quietly and you're kind of not liking your life. You're kind of hating it a bit. You know what I mean? And you're sitting there and like, what do I do? I'm not making money. I'm not happy, right? I don't know what to do. Man, talk about despair. Does that sound like despair or what? And if you felt that, you're not alone. Welcome to the club. Bienvenido, right? And we feel that way because we're not doing what we want to do, right? That frustration you feel, that anxiety. Better yet, here's the word, that resentment you feel. That word resentment is a powerful word, man. Resentment is a powerful word because that feeling of resentment comes from a place really deep. And it's because you've denied yourself so many things, you've sacrificed for others, and you've not helped yourself. And that resentment is there. It's like when you feel people are taking advantage of you, not paying you what you're worth. That's pure resentment. And it comes from a spot of just, it's anger because you feel like you're not getting ahead. First of all, nobody guaranteed you anything in life. Let's kind of get that out of the way. There are no guarantees in life. But maybe the reality is you haven't been able to try the things you've wanted to try. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, Victor, I'm really busy. I'm working 70 hours a week on my main job, my main hustle. I don't have time for a side hustle. I think you're lying to yourself. You can tell me, I'm a father, I stay at home, I got kids. I'm a mother, I stay at home, I got kids. I don't have time for a side hustle. I think you're lying to yourself. I'm not saying it's easy, by the way. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy. But I know anybody here can figure out, 15 minutes a day? I know you have 15 minutes a day. I know you do. You got 15 minutes a day. I'm not saying it has to happen quick. See, that's the reality. See, sometimes if it's not happening fast enough, we say, I don't want to do this. I give up. But what if you just invested a little bit of time? You don't have the money? Great. Just invest some time. I always say, what can you invest? There's so much free knowledge out there on the internet like this. There's so much free knowledge out there. There's no excuse. Even if you don't have money, you can find all the information you need to be successful. And you're here watching this because you want to learn how to sell your idea, right? If you need to get some investors or if you need to start it by yourself, define what it is you don't want and then figure out what you do want so you don't have that feeling of resentment. You with me? Cool. Last one. And then I'll get off my soapbox. All right. This is my favorite word. This is like you tell me what is my favorite Spanish word? Bregar. That's how you say it, Bregar. This is a Puerto Rican/Dominican word. I don't know who came up with this word, but it's Bregar. It's almost like hustle and grind combined, but in the Spanish way. I define it as this. This is how I define Bregar. You got to find a way. And this right here is probably the most powerful message I want to leave with you tonight, is that Bregar is a word where you simply you got to figure out a way. I don't know how. So, in Spanish, if you go to Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, you ask somebody, how's it going? And they'll say, bregando, which is a form of saying, I'm finding a way, right? And then, how are you going to do that? Voy a bregar. I'm going to find a way. And that's what I want you to start thinking about. I want to leave this one for last because this is my philosophy. Just like we can't reach perfection, but I'll get there somehow. I don't know. How are you going to do it? I don't know, but I'll find a way, right? If I need to do anything, I always tell myself, how can we find a way? Bregar. How do you find a way to solve whatever problem you're thinking about solving? How do you find that way? And I know you can do it, man. I know you can do it. And so keep that in mind. It's never a straight line. Success is never a straight line. And so it's merely just finding a way to get there. And I think it's a cool philosophy. So those are it. My 4 rules. Boom. I'll give it to you real quick again. The first one I think is probably cool. Never aim for perfection. Again, your idea doesn't have to be perfect. Just launch the thing. By the way, so back to the side story. That I'll take some of your comments. What's funny is that I wrote my first book, The Logic of Success. Is it back here? Yeah, here it is. So The Logic of Success was my first book. And I wrote this back in, wait a minute, let me just get this date out for you. By the way, I got a C- in English. My writing is horrible, man. And so I wrote this in 2005, so 15 years ago. You can't even see that. That's it, The Logic of Success, right? My first book, right? My first book on motivation, I should say. And I remember when I wrote it and I gave it to the editor, it was like I have to edit this manuscript. And I remember I gave this book to a friend of mine, right? I was so happy. You're a proud father in this case, right? It's like you're giving birth to a new project. Here's the book. I finally finished it. Here's my book. I gave him the book. About a week later, he calls me, right? And he says, Victor, got to talk to you about your book. And I'm like, oh my God, he finally read the book, right? He said, I read the book. Let's talk. I said, all right. So I'm talking to him on the phone, right? He picks up, I called him. He says, yeah. He said, I'm glad you called. I said, so what did you think of the book? Here's what he said. First things out of his mouth. Well, it has several typos. That was his. That's what he wanted to call it. I said, yeah, I was like, and he couldn't get past that. He says, let me go through the pages where you have all these typos. And I go, mother, you know what I mean? I was like, are you kidding me? I said, well, what do you think of the book? It was a good book. He says, you just need to get it edited. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is a dream killer, right? Focused on my typos. And then somewhere from here came that anger, that resentment. And I remember I said, well, what did you think of the book? He says, well, it was a good book. And then I said, okay, well, I got the typos out. Just send me a list or something like that. I said, let me ask you a question, I said. And he said, what? I said, where's your book? He goes, what do you mean, where's my book? I said, where's your book? I want to read your book. He says, I don't have a book, Victor. And I go, exactly. And I just went quiet. Do you know what I mean? And there was that uncomfortable feeling. But I was like, exactly. You don't have a book. I do. And that was another lesson on the road of screw you. It doesn't have to be perfect. I did get the book edited again, though, right? So you got to make it perfect, right? Find social proof. Find somebody who's doing what you want to do. Third one, define what you don't want. This is where you have to be honest with you. And the last one is Bregar. You got to find a way. Now, do me a favor. Which one of the four, or maybe you can 2 or 3 if you want to pick, impacted you the most? Resonated with you the most? Was it 1, 4, find a way? Define what you don't want, find social proof, or never aim for perfection? And then I'll take some serious questions here, I'm sure. Which one do you think impacted you the most? I'm dying to hear your opinions, right? What do you guys got? Give me a number. Give me a number. Give me a number. And then we're going to I'll pull comments on the, let me make the whiteboard white now. All right, so cool. Let me just take some of these. Man, you guys are going fast here. We got Brian says 1, Pete says 4, Udaman says 4. Rule number 3, shrewd test. You guys are going fast, man. If I miss yours, I'm sorry, man. Love the 80%, 20% investors. Yeah, I get it. Chris says 4. Find a way, man. Lupa says number 1. Tahir's going for 3 of them. He says 1, 3, and 4. Love it, man. The number 1 resonated with Sparrow's Tail, man. Jeffrey Anthony says 3 and 4. Cool. 1 through 4, taking them all, man. Jorge Luis, he's going number 4. 1 all the way. 3, very cool. 4, 3, yeah, I like it. By the way, for me, right there, Carol, I think 1 and 4 for me. Never aim for perfection, that type of thing. Inkle, let me see. Super love the content, man. It's 4 that's really resonated with me. How do you compare yourself to others while not degrading yourself that you don't feel like you're not good enough? Inkle, man, the key is don't compare yourself with other people, man. That is like the bane of our existence, man. You ever think about that? I mean, by the way, our brain is programmed to think in it's always measuring, comparing. It's the way the brain works. But what I've learned is that there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who have what you don't have. It doesn't mean they're happy. And I think you almost have to put blinders on. I always tell people I put blinders. I do what I want to do my way. It's really hard though, Inkle. So I'm not minimizing how hard it is not to compare yourself with other people. It's really hard, right? And so what I've learned to do, and I think this comes with age, I guess, I'm more chilled about it right now. I just don't really care anymore. That's my answer. I really don't care anymore. You know what I mean? They're going to do, everybody in life is running their own race. You just got to remember that. Everybody in life is running their own race. And at the end of the day, we all die. We're all put into a hole, right? And you don't take anything with you. Everybody's running their race, and everybody has their own measurement of happiness. And I think you need to keep that in mind. You run your race the way you want. And as soon as you really accept that, you'll see how all that stuff that people have just goes away. I got friends who are just uber super rich, way beyond me. And I mean, they're killing it, man. Carol, you had that one. Cool, got that. Ingo got yours already. Siddharth said number 3. Way to go. Charlize Berrios, Puerto Riqueña, number 1. Hope everything's well in Puerto Rico. Jay Martinez is going for number 1. Yeah, 1 and 4. Like I said, 1 and 4 for me work, man. Rob Johnson, right with you, man. 1 and 4. Monet, didn't see you here. Find a way. Never aim for perfection, man. That's there it is. What was your purpose of transitioning from 6 figures sales to your thing? How did you decide and start? Did you write a business plan and marketing plan, etc.? No, I didn't. I was an idiot. And I admit that. Because what happens, a good question, Jay, is it's it's not that I didn't have a plan. I just know I didn't want to do that anymore, right? And I kind of knew what I wanted to do. And for me, when you go into the speaking world, it's hard to write a business plan for going into a speaking business or being a consultant. What we did do, like leading up to that, because I was telling my wife, I'm getting tired, right? I'm getting tired of doing this. And so one of the things we started doing is socking a little money away, just a little money, put a little money away. And so when the first 6 months, remember I said May 9th I left, and then the rest of the year, and I only made $17,000, we had a little money to draw from. But that's when I really had to pick up my marketing game. Remember I said you're not in the sales business, you're in the marketing business first. Any business you're in the marketing business first, because if nobody knows you exist, it doesn't matter. And so I had to really up my game. So the short answer is we had a little bit of money put to the side, right? And in the spirit of full disclosure, about 3 years into my speaking career, it still was doing this. It was still wonky, right? And then I got an offer to be CEO of a company, right? And I did that for a year and a half. And then we sold the company and I went right back to speaking again. So I always tell people, look, if you got to go back, if you start something and it doesn't work out and you got to go back and get a job just to make money so you can continue with your dream, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. No shame in your game. In this case, my game, man. That's exactly what I did. I did whatever I had to do, man, to do whatever I wanted to do. Does that make sense? You just have to keep doing it. You just have to keep trying it. Never aim for it. It's definitely a way for a downward spiral and disappointment. It really is, right, Jenna? Because you just can't get out of it. Number one is your kryptonite. I hear you, brother, man. I feel your pain on that one, Tom. Arvin, same thing, man. Let it go, brother. Launch it, man. It's very freeing. I don't know if it was the speaker Les Brown. If you know Les Brown, give me a 1 or just type in Les. I met Les a couple of times and actually got to share the stage with him about 2 years ago with Les Brown. And he uses an example of he has like a pitcher, a mental pitcher of water, and he says you got to empty yourself out before you can actually put more in, because if you had a pitcher of water and you fill it up to the top, you can't put any more water in, right? So he says you have to empty yourself in order to be able to refill yourself up. And I've always loved that analogy because the way he used it, now again, I don't know if he came up with it, but whoever came up with it, it's a way of saying you have to empty yourself. But to me, empty yourself means you have to try it. You have to do it, right? Like when I write a book, so I got number 14 coming out, right? The upselling book. It's like I had all this knowledge about upselling and I had to empty myself into the book. And now my brain goes, right? I cleared my brain. It's like erasing the board in my brain, just erasing the board. And now I can take in new information as I begin working on my 15th book. Yes, I started working on book number 15 already. So remember to empty yourself. Find a way. You got it. Michael Moore, man. Last time I was talking to Michael Moore this morning. He had the audacity to send me a picture from the Gulf Coast as he was sipping a beer on the beach. Yeah, I told on you. There it is. It's public now, man. All right. Great content. You're awesome. Thank you, Gus. Sevilla. I never compare. Well, you're better than I am, man. I try not to compare. I work hard not to compare. And there's still, like, once in a while, my brain just wants to move in that direction. But what I do is I acknowledge when I'm comparing. I got to do a book review on this book called Positive Intelligence. I'm telling you, it's been a game changer for me. I think I've mentioned in the past. I like Social Proof with a twist. I used to drive through expensive neighborhoods just to get in the mindset. Eventually, I bought a $2 million house in the neighborhood. My man, positive thinking is key. Easy to get stuck in the reasons not to do something. Bam! Silva, man. I love that, man. Congratulations, man. And I think that's it, right? Now, somebody's going to look at that post and go, $2 million house. Wow, that's a lot. It's none of your business. It's his house. He can buy a $5 million house. Congratulations to him, right? He's running his race. Run your race, right? Again, that's the mindset. You got to remind yourself of that. Congratulations, man. I celebrate Silva. I celebrate your success, man. I really do. I genuinely mean that. I stopped comparing myself with others, although my colleagues compare themselves to me or try to compete. I only compete with myself. Man, I am with you on that. Only compete with who you were yesterday type of thing. I think Jordan Peterson said something like that because I think that's what you should do. Am I a little better than I was yesterday? Which is why I recommend at a minimum 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day I don't care if you only read 3 or 4 pages of a book or listen to a podcast for 15 minutes. Find a way just a little bit, because like the 1% compound effect, it begins to build over time, and I think you will be transformed. Thank you for sharing, TJ. Anthony Miner says, number 1. We got my man Jared. I got an interview with Jared tomorrow, Matt. Jared, I'm looking forward to it, right? It's 12 noon, right? Confirm that for me. 1 was the best. I focus on getting started and working on making it better over time. Perfection is rare, but pretty good can happen often with hard work. You got to love that. Pretty good can happen often. Just boom, put that in quotes. Pretty good can happen often. And that's exactly what happens often. And so if you follow Jared, check him out on Instagram. He's got some great stuff. He's doing videos. He's got some cool graphics. He obviously loves yellow. That's his thing, right? But I love it because he puts out a lot of live streams or, videos. And, what I love about it is that you just do it, man. A lot of people talk about it. They get self-conscious. Not Jared. Jared does it. And I love that, man. That's great. Pretty good can happen often. I don't know. There's a book title in there somewhere, man. That's beautiful, man. Paco, my man, Chicago, LeBron says number 1. Les, Jorge, I don't know what that means, but cool. Number 1, Monet says 1. Done is better than perfect, man. There's something to be said for actually finishing something. And like I said, there's projects I've started, I've done them, and I go, that didn't come out the way I wanted. But again, it's the process of what you learn along the way, and you always take something away. And so I love it, man. I love it. Apart from whom you would recommend to follow as a sales guru in sales, it depends on what you're looking for. It's a great question to hear, so I won't avoid it. So, because there's a lot of good people out there. I really like following people who are data centric. It's the engineer in me. I like people who do studies. There's a guy who I love his presentation style. His name is Tim, I can't spell it, Reister or something like that. It's a difficult name to spell. I could never get it right. He'll probably laugh at me. He says, I like this guy. The guys who wrote the Challenger Sale, I think it's Brent Adamson. I think I got that right. Adamson. I use the website Gartner a lot, because there's a lot of good sales trainers out there. There's a lot of good people that have a lot of great content, right? Sorry, I got that in the way. Let me get that out of the way for you here so you can see that. So Tim Reister, Brent, I think he's a great speaker. I've seen him on stage. I got friends like, Jeb Blunt, who just wrote Virtual Selling. Anthony Iannarino wrote a book, something about eating lunch. I forgot it already. He's going to hate me for it. Outbound Conference, I do something with Mark Hunter. And then I'm trying to think. Believe it or not, I like Grant Cardone stuff. I tell people that, like, what? Grant Cardone can sell. I don't care what anybody says. That guy can sell. The Wolf of Wall Street, again, his own style, he can sell. The way I would look at it to here is that there's a lot of good sales trainers out there. There's people, I'm just trying to think of somebody else, like a guy by the name of John Barrows does some good stuff. The guy that wrote Gap Selling, I forgot his name. The lady, I forget her name also, who wrote Agile Selling. There's a lot of great people out there. So it really depends on what you want. It's almost like asking me who's my favorite artist besides X. So do I have a favorite? The answer is no, I don't. I don't have a favorite sales trainer. I don't. Besides myself, I don't have a favorite sales trainer. That sound wrong? Only because everybody does it differently. But I don't have anybody that... Zig Ziglar was always my man. That's the only guy that I just go, oh. And then Jim Rohn was the other guy that I just... people that make your jaw drop. A guy I like, I mentioned it before, that's not a sales trainer, but there's something about his presentation style that is so good, is the guy who wrote the book Start With Why, Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek. There's something about his presentation style, it's like very still, but he talks in such a way without a lot of movement that's very captivating. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but those are some names. The thing is, every book, like I'm reading a book a week, like the book I'm reading right now, not in sales, by the way. By the way, this book is freaking awesome. It's called Swipe to Unlock. It's written by 3 guys. I think the 3 product managers. I think one from Google, one from Facebook, and I think maybe the third one from Amazon. Swipe to Unlock is all about. It's like a technology primer, and I'm halfway through it only. You can see there. And that aside, my point is, I try to find. I read a lot of salespeople and see what everybody else's ideas are, their perspectives. So that's the best I can give you, man. Sorry. That was a long answer. Too long of an answer. Too long of an answer. Sorry. So anyway, I'm going to get going here in just a bit. We're over an hour already. Congratulations on the big 1-5. I'm looking forward to it, Monet. We'll celebrate when I finally get it done. Number one, are you writing a book about no-touch selling? I am not. So the book concept I have, it's more about man and machine. So I wrote a book on artificial intelligence, that one right there. And so this is almost a second book to that, Pete, on how we're changing as salespeople with all this new technology. So will it have some aspects of no-touch virtual selling in there? The answer is yes, but that's not going to be the goal. But yeah. Let me see. I always connect with you because I'm also an electronic and telecom engineer, and I love your content instead of seeing expensive cars and hot girls. Well, I don't know if I want to agree with that whole concept, but there you go. Thank you, man. I hear what you say. Look at Monet's got it. Run your race. That's exactly it. That run your race. Did you ever hear that poem? Did you ever Monet or whoever, you ever listen to that poem called The Race? If you know what I'm talking about, hit number 1 or just type race. There's a poem called The Race, and it's probably an audio version on YouTube. I know there is. And so you got to listen to that poem. It is one of the, it is such a motivating poem. It's called The Race. And it starts like this. They all lined up so full of hope, each thought to win the race. You know, something like that. They all lined up. Just remember that first line. They all lined up, to win the race. And that whole poem is just a beautiful poem about success, perseverance, and pushing through, man. So I thank you for kind of triggering me on that one, Monet. Appreciate that. Okay, Anthony Miner, you keep saying less. I have no idea what that means, man. Vic, off topic. Why do you want to go off topic, TJ? But related to SAD, do you dance to that intro? Yeah, on the side I do, man, I do. So my son wrote that song. I don't know if I told you. He goes under the name of Lumera. So he actually wrote that song. So dude, I love dancing, man. Spanish, come on, you got to dance. If you're Spanish, you got to dance. Duncan Hamlet says, it ain't coming for free. You got to work for it. Never does, man. You can't. It's like a bird. You can open your mouth and wait for mommy to drop a worm in it. Doesn't work that day. 15 minutes a day, build some muscle, man. Man, I connected late. Why? Why, Al? Thanks for all the teaching you do. The best in the industry. Thank you, man. Watch it on the replay. And my man, Brian, Gay Top Morel. Minimal investment in yourself daily yields massive results. There it is, man. Again, like compound interest, right, Brian? It's just that simple, man. So, and Jim is funny. Okay, cool. To hear Love Simon Sinek, Brian's back with Swipe to Unlock, a primer on da-da-da. That's it right there. Good book, man. By the way, if you're struggling with understanding like technology, what's going on, or simple things, this is such a perfect book. Like, if you feel like you're a little technophobic, like you don't understand what a modem is, or you don't understand what wireless or Bluetooth is, or you don't even understand what HTTPS means, right, in your domain, when you're searching, this book is a perfect primer. Like, most of the stuff I know, but the way they lay it out is so good. And it explains, even some concept they explain goes, I never thought about that. It explains how Uber works, right? How the apps work. If you don't know how apps work, they'll explain it, and the different strategies for apps. They just go into all the technology. So it's really a cool primer, man. Most of them I am following. There you go. Good people, man. They're all good. Thank you so much, Victor. Always love your insights. How do you measure morale, especially if things are not going great? It's hard, man. It's hard to stay up, man. You know what I mean? It's like, especially, we're going through this time right now. I look at the people, what's happening in Beirut today, what happened today in Lebanon. I mean, that's, my prayers go out to the people there. But one of the things, and this is going to sound weird, what I'm about to say, I'm not joking. I'm not making fun of this. I'm really not, is that, I always think that every time I feel a little sorry for myself and I have a pity party, we all feel sorry for ourselves sometimes. I'm such a victim, right? Nothing's going right for me. Oh, life sucks the whole bit. One of the things I have to remember that there are people who are less fortunate than I am. Like, Inkle, no matter how good you have it, I'm telling you right now, or how bad you think you have it, there's somebody who has it worse. And I've gotten a chance to travel around the world, and I've seen poverty, man. I thought I knew what poverty was. based on my upbringing. No, I've seen real poverty. And so every time I remind myself, it ain't that bad. And that boosts my morale. So, there's a German word for that. I think it's called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. I don't know if you've heard of the word. It's a very cool word to know. So Schadenfreude, I think it's spelled like this. Schadenfreude. There it is. It's a cool word. Look it up. Schadenfreude it's almost like I'm glad it's them and not me. That's Schadenfreude, right? And so a lot of people, experience Schadenfreude, and that's how, they stay alive, so to speak. They stay motivated. The Sales Edge. Is that a book? Gene Norton, The Sales Edge. Did you like it, Kenry? Let me know if you liked it. Love to hear from you, man. Who else was right here? Jeffrey Anthony. What do you probably know of the NEPQ sales system of Jeremy Miner? He uses the reverse funnel just like you when we were talking about it in your last podcast. Well, the reverse funnel wasn't mine. That was based on the book ABM is B2B. That's Sangram Vijay's inverted funnel. I was actually on a call. I did a podcast with Jeremy Miner about 2 weeks ago. Cool dude. I don't know of his program. He invited me on his podcast to talk about my stuff. And so I don't know about his program. Just in conversation with him, cool dude, man. Straight up dude. So I like him, man. I like him. So, yeah, I don't know. So I'm not going to guess it. Keenan is gap selling. He's great. So Keenan is another book. I would do that. I think he just goes by the name Keenan now. He decides to go just with one name. So check out that book as well. I bought that book. It's a good book. I should do a review on that book also because that's a good book. I love the concept. It's simple and it's very tactical, gives you some tactics rather, but it's also motivational at the same time. So it's a really good book. John Barrows is great as well. And Duncan said the poem is called Race. Man, just listen to that poem. It's like 2-3 minutes. Victor, you just gave me an idea. I might try to do some virtual sales stand-up for the presentation part. What's the smart board? Go to the description. I put it in there. It's called the Vibe board. So go into the description, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. It should be there. And if it's not, then go to the video on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, this board just lets you play with. I mean, you can do all kinds of things. It has Silva, it has you can bring in your apps. Like I can tap that and I can bring in apps like, I got App Store here, Zoom, I can do that. I can pull up YouTube. So if I hit YouTube right now, I can pull up some videos and show that. It'll come up. And I can, you can really play with this when you're doing presentations. Now I'm probably going to get stuck in here and not know how to get out of this thing. So you can watch kitty videos, and it's kind of cool. You can really just play with this whole thing. Yeah. And it's really cool. So now I don't know how to get out of this thing. So, because I don't really use this. By the way, I haven't been using all these different features in here. Let me see if now you got me stuck in here, Silva. Thank you, Silva, for putting me in YouTube. Let me see here, go back there. But anyway, it's a nice tool, man. It's a really nice tool to use. I think it's a way of using it to actually, elevate whatever game you're trying to elevate. It's worth the investment. Cynic is an amazing storyteller. I agree with you. You the man. Tonight's Sales After Dark episode has convinced me to sign up as a lifetime member of the Sales Velocity Academy. You the man. You the man. Thank you for sharing your life story and the 4 rules. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that, man. Welcome to the tribe. What's the best alternative by avoiding comparing yourself to anyone else, but at the same time evaluating that you're progressing and getting closer to be like the person you admire and want to be? What a beautiful question, man. That's a great question, the way you phrase that. And so because it is kind of a conundrum, right? I said, how do I not compare, but yet I want to be like Zig Ziglar, but how do I not compare? I think the thing was, I want to be like that, right, Jay? I want to be like that, but I know I never could do it that way. I guess I acknowledged that I can't do it like that. And that was the toughest part. I had to acknowledge that I can't do it like that. So let me do it my way, right? That's what I discovered. So compare yourself to other people. Say, okay, I want to be just like that person, right? But then you got to say to yourself, but I have to do it my way that works for me. Because we're all bent differently. You know what I mean? We're all just bent differently. And my biggest bent differently, and I'll give you an example, maybe this will help. So I used to see Zig Ziglar present, and I loved everything about him. But I also knew that I had and I can say this with some confidence, that I had a better sense of humor, right? And I can use, levity and humor more effectively because that was me. That's how I'm bent, right? He's a better storyteller, but I'm a better humor storyteller, right? And so I realized that was my strength. So I wanted to be that. I took everything I can from Zig Ziglar, and I said, now how do I do it my way? And so then at the end of the day, people wind up admiring you for who you are. So hopefully that answers your question, but it's a great question, man. Great question. Blaze, right back at you. How you doing, man? Kenry, big thumbs up, man. Thank you. Jay Martinez, I just ordered Cold Calling by Art Subject today after listening to your last podcast. Looking forward to reading that chapter 20. Good book, man. There's so many great scripts in that book. It really is a good book, and I'm glad he's updating it, keeping it current. So let me know what you think about it after that. Awesome book. Cool, man. And I'm going to wrap up in a couple here. Thanks, VA. Haha. That music is really cool. I danced to it as well. My girl was wondering why I'm playing club music in the morning. I said, it's VA's intro. She was like, I see. That's cool music. All right. Say hi to your wife for me, TJ. And I'm going to end with my man, Gator here. Jay Martinez says, Smart Calling has great content throughout. I'm on the second read through. There you go, man. So anyway, again, last but not least, I'm going to leave you with my final thoughts. Got to leave you with my final thoughts. I'm going to keep this one short. And by the way, remember to share it with somebody. If you haven't subscribed, just share and like that whole thing there. But if there's one message to walk out of here with, and I don't know how to put this, but if there's one message to walk out of this live stream is, there's something that you want to do. There is. There's something that you want to do, that we all want to do. There's always that something you want to do. And if you've been putting it in your back pocket, like shoving it in your back pocket, putting it back there, not paying attention to it, maybe now's the time. And you may be thinking, well, Victor, we're going through this pandemic right now. Things are not good. The economy's the uncertainty. There's never going to be a perfect time, right? Just like you never aim for perfection, never aim for a perfect time, because the perfect time is never going to happen. And so even if you don't want to go big, people say, go big or don't go at all, right? No, you don't have to go big. Go as small as you like. Start as small as you like. Remember, it's your race. As Monet says, run your race, man. Just run your race. If you have to go slower, go slower. It's like when you're in school. We used to always compare ourselves. You ever see people finish the test very quickly? You're like, why can't I finish the test? Because they're going at a different speed, and it's okay. Let them go at their speed. You go at your speed. And so if there is that something, what I want this video to do is to motivate you to start doing whatever it is you want to do. You know what I mean? I was talking to, in a short story, I was talking to a guy, I won't mention his name, but I just found out that at the age of 24, he had cancer. 24. And then he got operated, took care of it, and 2 years later, it came back again. It's in remission again, but I mean, it was a heart-wrenching story because it's a reminder, man, we only have so much time, right? Now, if you believe in the afterlife, that's great. I hope there's an afterlife, but I'm assuming there isn't one. If there is, that's overtime, that's bonus up there, right? But if there isn't, and this is all you have, why not start doing it? Even if you fail, I don't care if you fail. Really, nobody cares if you fail, only you care. But if you have that something in you, you want to do it, man, I think this should be the year that you do it, okay? So on that note, I think I'm out of here. Thank you again, guys. And again, please share this with somebody. Do your thing, man. And as always, Victor Antonio reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how and when you do your thing. And if you don't know what that is, please look it up. Do your thing, Victor.